why did you decide that you want to kind of get into religion and not just kind of be with the belief of there is something bigger? I know there is something bigger, but I want to get like more. I want to get deeper.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I'll basically bring it back to how I came to Christ in a condensed version. Like I say, I grew up, by the age of 11, I was surrounded by a lot of death in my family. So I had two grandparents pass away. I also had my nan pass away. And then when I was 11, my dad passed away. So I had this whole belief of there's no Christianity, there's no belief, no Islam, no nothing that can get me to think that there is a God, because there's so much suffering in my life, let alone the world. It's just pure darkness. That's all I see, very negative, and think there's no positives, even though there was a lot of positives, but I just couldn't see them. And I was just like, yeah, no God. Even in, RE class, so religious education study, I was just like, yeah, not bothered, turn off, distract myself, not bothered about it. There's no way, da 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 da. And then skip to about 18 years old, I was still very kind of depressed, suicidal, like on and off, kind of not really wanting to be here. Mainly when I was 11 years old, but there was still kind of themes when I was 18. And I was just tired of my life, tired of going in the same loops, not liking my life, and truly just being like, this can't be my life anymore. Saying I'm going to do something and not doing it, and just being very skinny, very insecure, and just, yeah, like I say, not really wanting to be here. And I started reading this book because I was getting into self-improvement and just wanting to better my life. I was like, I've got to make a change. So let's just do that. So I started hitting gyms, started reading non-fiction books and this. And there's a book that I started reading called The Secret. And that basically is the law of attraction, which basically means that you speak things into existence, kind of affirmations, positive affirmations, that kind of thing. And it talks about the law of the universe. And that was the main thing that really struck out to me, which was like, if there's a law of the universe, who controls that? And the reason why I don't go into this whole, like, I think it's a new age thing where like you are the God and this kind of, woo woo or whatever you want to call it. And that's no disrespect to people that believe that, but I know myself enough to go, I can't do it alone. So a lot of people might just be like, oh, well, that's just like you're choosing Christ because what's the main thing that they say? It's like, oh, you just want someone to help you. You're weak, you're this. And you come to a point in your life where you realize you are weak. Like, you come to a point where you can't do it alone. Even if you don't believe in Christ, you don't believe in anything, you know that you need people in your life that will help you. Having that humility just amplifies it and makes it easier to process things because you have people in your corner. Now being a Christian, I not only have Christian friends in my area and in my bubble or whatever you want to call it, my friendship group, and also friends and family, but I also have just Christ, right? I can speak to him. He can guide me along right paths. And going back to the question, which was what, sorry?
I love that you got into your own story. It was more of a like, why did you decide that
That was it.
like you want something more than just this? Oh, there is something bigger. There is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Like I say, it goes back to the law of attraction and the law of the universe. And I was just more like, it can't just be me. Like, I never really got into the idea. I think going back when I was like an atheist, or I call it an apathist. I don't know if it's a real term, but it's like you just didn't care if there was a God, right? You didn't want to know or anything. And I was just like, wow, like looking back on my life, I keep making the same mistakes. I keep like just not doing what I said I was going to do. So I never really had the belief after the realization that I couldn't do it alone, that, oh, I can be my own God, that I can do everything in my own strength, because I'd already proven to myself multiple times that I couldn't do it myself. Even if I say I believe, there'd be too much doubt or there'd be too much negativity or whatever. I needed a new perspective, I guess. And the the Bible gave me that perspective of just like, if you truly surrender everything and you're open to it, right? Because when I was reading the Bible, it wasn't just an overnight thing of like, oh, I believe in Christ. Like, oh, 100%. I had major doubts, and I was reading the Bible for over like 6 months front to back. I didn't finish it, but I just mean I was reading from the Old Testament to the New Testament. and I was still sinning. I didn't even know what sin was. I wasn't a Christian. I was just kind of like reading this Bible, trying to better my life, kind of using it as like a self-improvement book than anything. And then start reading the New Testament and slowly getting convicted and being like, I'm open to being a better person because there's more to life than what's around me right now.
And once again, like, of course, like, I think a lot of deaths are, even for Christians, I think very hard, and they can just like push away people from like any sort of belief in God, because there's a lot of pain and suffering, and we can get into that too. But kind of what I've heard, and so when somebody like close to dies or something, most people kind of get into depression, even drugs, even all of those substances. And from what I heard, you kind of wanted to change your life. You wanted to be better. Why do you think that was?
Well, to go back to when I was 11 years old and having, close family members passing away, it was a very dark time for me. I tried to commit suicide at least 2 times, I think, and just very suicidal. And I don't even really know what kept me going. Now looking back, I always say that it was God waiting for me to kind of come to him, because there's so many times in my life that I was like being stupid and God's just like gone, not today. Like, you're being stupid, but let's just keep it going. Let's, like, I've got bigger plans for you. And I say that now because I've got the bird's eye view of what's happened in the past and where I am now. Um, but it's having people in your life that truly care about you that, I guess, keep you going. So that was kind of the main thing that kept me going. And then until like when I was 16 to 18 years old, I was kind of just, I got too sick and tired of being tired and just not liking my life. So then I made a change about it, and I was just watching YouTube, like self-improvement content. And that's kind of what started everything, by me just saying, I want to change my life. And I think a big thing that really does help is if you are being depressed and you're not living life to the fullest and just not enjoying life, is having that structure and having them people in your life that will allow you to show up no matter how you feel, and just keep putting that kind of positive energy into you. Because when you are depressed, you're not thinking about, oh, I have to be grateful about, like, I live in a house, I live in this. Like, going back to when I was very depressed, it was all negative. And even though I kind of knew about these things of like, oh, you should be grateful that, you woke up today. It's like, I don't even want to be here. Like, it's kind of good if I don't wake up, sort of thing, like a very negative mindset. But looking back, I do kind of wish that I had more people around me. And obviously I did have a few people around me that was just like getting me going. And if you are in that situation, then I highly recommend speaking about it as well. Like, I used to be very much like, oh, don't talk about your feelings and like struggle alone and do that kind of thing. But that gets you nowhere, and people pass away and take their own life because they don't speak out. So it's basically a call to speak to people about your problems, and they'll be there for you. And if they're not there for you, then find other people that will be there for you, whether that's family, friends, even if you're not religious. And I wouldn't call myself religious. I just kind of believe in Christ, and maybe we'll get into that. But just reaching out to, whether it's a church, whether it's helplines online where you don't need to speak to them like face to face, and you just call them up, like speaking to someone, journaling it down, and trying to have a new perspective is probably the best thing. Someone that will hear you and understand you and just listen to you, but also not just allow you to be where you are and stay depressed, but actually try and help you through that.